Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Yeah, we were doing this video like 6 hours ago at like 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning.
I know.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, we had some technical issues, but we are back. This was our Patreon exclusive, one of 3 videos we got out yesterday. Dark Matrix is crumbling. However, yeah, there's definitely howevers, but at the same time, it really is the crumbling. There's all sorts of signs up in the heavens. This is Ammonite. This is a new world. Wow. Found in our solar system, far beyond Pluto. Yeah, say hello to Ammonite. This is really, really curious, is it not? This takes 4,000 years to make its one trip around the sun. Think about that. 4,000 of our years to get around the sun one time. And it's officially named 2023 KQ14. Informally nicknamed Ammonite. Now that's interesting that's nicknamed Ammonite, and we're going to cover why that. This was literally discovered back in 2023 from a telescope in Mauna Kea. This one, the Subaru telescope on top Mauna Kea in Hawaii back in 2023. And so it's an interesting discovery, to say the least. It's a very long elliptical orbit. It's way out there, way out there with other things like Sedna and other, let's just call them celestial objects. It's not a planet. Again, it's like a planetoid. It's what they call a Sedna type object. It was interesting because this was brought up by one of the followers of Joni Petrie, who also follows us, as there's a lot of people that follow Joni that also do follow us, and vice versa. As she was talking about this as a cosmic shift in healing and consciousness, anytime, astrology is about what's out there in the heavens and how does it affect our consciousness. So, Joni was talking all about this a couple days ago. And when they found it, it was transiting at the top of the constellation Serpens. And that's really interesting. It's one of the 88 modern constellations of the Northern Hemisphere. But it's an interesting, rare constellation because it's the only constellation that is split by another constellation called... it's Ophiuchus, I'll let Cindy say it. She says it better.
Ophiuchus.
Bless you.
Yes, bless you.
Bless you, sweetie. So it's interesting when you start going into Ophiuchus or Ophiuchus. There's a mythology, of course. As you can see right here, what do we see? I see this. This is the staff of Hermes. And also, as soon as I look at it, I think Ida, Pingala, Shishimna. I also think rising Kundalini, getting your wings in the form of light body activation and Merkaba activation, along with the functioning pineal gland. That's what this symbol means to me. It means true health, true balance, true human potential realized. So there's a story behind this oddly named character, again, in the Greek mythology. He was raised and mentored by this centaur, Chiron. Now, at the same time, Chiron is another heavenly object that was discovered in 1977, and it seemed like the chiropractic boom happened right after that. Now, going back to the mythology, he was taught in the ways of medicine, grew up to be a famous miracle medicine worker, and healed all he could with his magic staff. He was then given magical healing potion from the goddess Athena, made from Gorgon blood. With this potion, he could heal anything and even bring the dead back to life. When Zeus discovered that Ophiuchus was disrupting the natural order of things by raising dead men for money, and again, we know that when we're talking about Zeus and the Olympian gods, you are talking about Anunnaki and their offspring hybrid children, which they eventually left some in charge, and that is what populates that's what dominates the secret societies, again, certain bloodlines. So he later acknowledged all Ophiuchus had done and placed him in the heavens. And well, why is this constellation, missing from the zodiac? Well, that's a good question, because a lot of people have written about this too. Is Ophiuchus the 13th constellation of the zodiac? Did we really have 13 months? Again, should we follow a lunar calendar of 28 days? There's been so many changes to our calendars. By the way, like even the Lion's Gate, we've got from the guides that the real date for the Lion's Gate's not 8/8 per se. It's a few weeks earlier because of the change in the calendars back when we shifted again from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian. Everything that is in our given existence is really kind of tilted, kind of crooked, kind of out of order. It's kind of all kind of screwed up when you really get down to it, but things are being uncovered now, and these are exciting times.
Well, it is, and this is a very interesting zodiac sign. But as far as my studies have gone, and I've gone way back in the Vedic, back Sanskrit, back as far as you can go, Ophiuchus was not built into the 12 zodiac signs. So the zodiac was built with that not in mind. And why did they do that? I don't know. But every teacher that I've listened to, and I've listened to a lot, I've had a lot of classes, looked through a lot of books, they don't mention Ophiuchus, but I do believe that it's in there. It's probably somewhere, lingering around the nakshatras. I do believe it's in there, but it just was never the information on the zodiac that I have studied. They never brought that into. I've never heard anyone bring it up, anyone that teaches astrology. So, but it definitely, it's there, and it affects consciousness, and there's something to it.
It's all very curious. Again, it's known as the serpent bearer or serpent carrier. As you can see, this is serpent's cauda, and so it's positioned such that these are intersecting, and it's as if Ophiuchus is carrying the serpent. Now, carrying the serpent, well, again, that's something we could take for Kundalini and life force and all of the above. Very, very curious, is it not, that this is the area that this was discovered in? So I can see why Joni is thinking this is going to be all about health and all about new ways of looking at our health. And I do agree with her when she says that she thinks that the dominant, most important thing we're going to discover is healing is all about frequency and vibration. I totally agree, and I think things like light therapy, different lights, different frequencies with sound therapy, energy healing, this is the next big wave. It really, really is. And even quantum healing with certain types of technologies is very, very real. It's curious here because the rod of Asclepius, which is, again, there's another association with that rod, the serpent. Now, this is a singular serpent on a six-pointed staff. This is what's associated with emergency medical services and, again, the American Medical Association, the AMA. When we think back to the Hermetic Hermes Mercury Caduceus, to me, what's so clearly given is the Sushumna in the middle and the Ida and the Pingala. The Ida and the Pingala being the dominant central nadis. One is yin, the other is yang. When they are united, and by the way, they intersect at the major chakra points along the spine. And there are nerve plexuses with a myriad of nerves that feed life force energy to the major organs of the body at these center points. You could see this really with modern scaling equipment. It is just very, very curious. To me, this symbol is all about balance, and this is all about imbalance. Again, we could also look to, not that, this gives you a better concept. This is what we're talking about. The Sushumna Nadi, the Ida, the Pingala, the major chakra centers, the staff of life, the Tai Chi pole. This is the Tai Chi pole from medical Qigong practice and yogic theory as well. Central point that grounds us not just to the earth, but also out into the cosmos, also to our higher selves. Very, very, very important. When we look again to the statue of George Washington right next to the statue of Baphomet holding the same pose, you'll notice that you have that Ida, Pingala, Sushumna, but it terminates here at the solar plexus, the I am center, the center of self, the center of ego. When you go back and you look at the caduceus, and we look at where that top termination point is, it's up at the crown chakra, and this is again giving us that glow of the saints. And you have your wings when, again, your pineal gland is fully activated, your macabre light body is activated. Then you can move about freely in other dimensions and up to 5th density. That's, again, the home of the angels in more ways than one. So it's pretty fascinating. Also, Ammonites are in the Bible, by the way. But before we go there, let me go back to this picture, this one. Have them out of order here. This shows you a 135 million year old Ammonite fossil. Now, this fossil, it looks like it's encased in a metal sphere. But when you open it up, right, and you see what's inside, it's fossilized sea life from 135 million years old in this case. At least that is what they tell us. So, they were naming the planet because it's so fossil-like itself after fossilized sea life. But then what does that have to do with the fact that there were also Ammonites in the Bible? Is that just a coincidence? The Ammonites were kind of related to the Israelites that came in and supposedly cleared out the initial inhabitants of Canaan, or actually maybe not the initial, but the inhabitants that were there at that time, because the Ammonites had a complex and adversarial relationship with the Israelites. Though they were related by blood, the Israelites were commanded not to harass them or provoke them to war. And the Ammonites had previously gotten rid of the giants, the Rephaim, a people of giants whom they called the Zamzummim, from their land. So that's really fascinating, especially when we look at them all as perhaps having correspondence to the Phoenicians, which really, in many ways, might simply be people that left Atlantis after the destruction of Atlantis and settled in other places. So really curious, all these different things that tie together.
Well, I do think it's going to bring to our consciousness a certain type of understanding when it comes to healing. I think there's going to be a lot of understanding with mental illness, or what we perceive to be mental illness. I think people are going to finally understand, oh, well, that wasn't what we thought it was at all. And people are going to understand all the things that they've been giving those who have these challenges. All the medicines are not appropriate for the problem. So I do think this is going to bring into light many different ways to bring about healing using vibration and light and other types of plant medicine. I think this is the direction we're going to go. We're going to have some major discoveries. We're going to have some things that are going to be really just maybe even out of this world when it comes to healing.
Okay, so I asked Chad a question that came up after looking at this article from Zero Hedge. And they're talking about quite a hot mic moment on CCTV in Beijing as Putin and Xi, both 72 years old, caught casually talking about living to 150 and maybe forever. How? Through organ transplants and technology that's coming online. Yeah, maybe we'll live forever, they're laughing. And they got caught in a translation to Mandarin on CCTV. Yeah, I think, again, as I've been saying for years, we go through a period where when they're in control and in power, the power structure, the dark matrix, then there's a lot more force used. Then when they can no longer use the force in that way, they'll switch to offering us candy, so to speak. And, it's going to be that type of temptation. Meanwhile, what do you see? This was a huge role of power. Display of power with a massive military parade that included NUKE weapons, and it was the leadership of North Korea, China, and Russia together, and it was a huge event, really, because again they've been talking about creating a total alternative economically, the BRICS nations and their quest to become at least equal to, if not the dominant economic power on the planet at some point in the relatively near future, but at least equal to the NATO-led nations, let's say. The thing is, why are all the Chinese weapons, and it's not just even Chinese weapons, you'll see even Soviet weapons or Russian weapons these days, every one of them is using letters from the English alphabet on them. What is up with that? Did you ever notice that? I've noticed it over the years, and I thought it was really curious. So I asked Chad about it. So why is all the weaponry simply in English letters? And basically because, Chad says English is the international language of engineering, aviation, and shipping. Using Roman / English letters. Because again, the Roman alphabet, Latin's dead, but Latin morphed in many ways. And, English and the British Empire has been sort of the morphing of the Roman Empire in more ways than one. And perhaps now, the plan of some within the cabal, the dark, matrix, is to shift power to China and that system, because it has everything in place. And maybe a war is the way they do it, but we'll see how this really makes its way out. So it talks about exporting weapons and the fact that weapon sales and, the language that's used, the dominant language used for dealing with the military-industrial complex is English. And Chinese characters are also perhaps too complex and too confusing. Okay, so I say could it do with the fact that countries are useful tools to keep humans divided, and that war is simply a way to depopulate the planet? And Chat said, you're touching on a much deeper, more philosophical and conspiratorial idea there. Let's break it down. If you zoom out and take this perspective, you're pointing to that nations are a facade. There's really one hidden global authority. Then yes, the use of English letters could be seen as symbolic of a unified underlying system that transcends national boundaries. And also going into the fact that the global military-industrial complex is what it is. And yeah, basically, I guess, on a level, it's a possibility.
Yeah, we'll have to kind of keep an eye on this one too. I mean, a lot of interesting information coming out when it comes to human beings and longevity, and the modern nature of healing, and are they going to bring in med beds? Are they going to roll out make certain types of healing legal? We'll have to see. We know that the controllers, the ones that are up there really, really high, they definitely don't want to, give away all the healing secrets, because it's big money to make sure that we're all sick. It just is. So it would be foolish for us to think that those who make money off of our illness are going to work on helping us heal. So I think we have to do the work ourselves. And I do believe it's doable. I think we can manifest it. And I think we can manifest great healing opportunities, down here, even in the trenches where we're at.
We thank you guys for your support. We look forward to your comments. As always, source bless and namaste.
Namaste.